recently there's been a very popular story going around on YouTube, on the TV, and the newspapers, everything, about an owner of an IONIQ 5, just like the one that we have, that had to have his car written off because he ran something over and he damaged a battery. And that battery was said to cost $60,000 to replace, when the actual vehicle itself was only around $55,000. So as an IONIQ 5 owner myself, I just wanted to chime in and tell you what I think about this whole situation. First of all, there's a great video out there from Motormouth. I know Zach and Andy are very well. This is not to discount anything that they've said, because they've done some great journalism there, really investigated. All the facts are there. So if you want to watch that video, make sure to watch that one. Most likely you probably already have. So what do I think about it? Well, I think that I don't think anyone's going to pay $60,000 for a battery, and I think Hyundai knows that as well, because that's why this story exists. If this story exists, it means that it's never happened before. No one is crazy enough to spend more for a battery than what it costs for a brand new car. So why is it so expensive, and what happened with this whole scenario? Well, it could have happened all different ways. It was almost like the perfect storm that happened. So this guy ran over a piece of lumber, I believe. There was a little bit of damage, a little bit of, but it wasn't huge damage. But the thing is that no one really wants to take liability at all. So we went to a couple dealerships, and make a long story short, the battery in the stock, whatever, on the computer says it's, with labor and everything, it's going to be 60 grand to replace. And we have a government insurance company called ICBC here in British Columbia, and they just said, hey, that's cost more, so let's replace the whole car, which is unfortunate because it had to go against, now the owner actually has to claim that against his own insurance. What could have made it different? Well, if he would have totaled the car completely, it wouldn't be an issue. Or if he tore that battery right apart and that battery was no good, even if it was probably $40,000, not 60, it would still be a write-off as well. My question is that why, as an insurance adjuster, your job is to go and save money, and on any other case, they're just pinching every single penny. They don't even want to give you OEM parts or anything like that. They want to give you generic windshields, and if you saw that invoice for a $60,000 battery for a car that's 55 grand, wouldn't you question that? Like, would you not even reach out to the manufacturer and say, hey, can you give it to us for 40 or 30,000 or even 55,000 to save a little bit of money instead of shelling out all that money that they had to shell out? Yeah. And then also on the dealer side, why is there no way to actually diagnose the battery? These are pretty advanced batteries now. The technology is growing and growing, and there should be a way that you can go and check cells. Even in in RC racing and stuff, you have balancers. You can check different cells, and you could do a quick cell. Or if you had to drop the battery and actually take it apart and visually look at it, it would still be less money than replacing a whole vehicle. So that's another thing. It's just like, no one wants, the dealership doesn't want to sign off and say, yeah, it's okay, because down the road, if something happens, now they're going to be liable. The customer doesn't want to just accept it as it is, because if something happens down the road, he's going to be liable. So no one wants to touch this, which is why I'm glad this story has come about, because it's raising awareness about this, and it's going to teach people how to deal with this type of scenario, which really hasn't happened. Another reason why I make this video, because there's so many comments on a lot of my EV reviews right now, and I'm just sick of actually answering to each of them, and I almost need to just copy and paste a response, because some people, I don't even know if they're actually even watching the whole story or reading the story of what really happened. They're just looking at the headline going, hey, battery $60,000 and car's $55,000, so I'm never gonna buy an EV again. Or I'm not gonna buy an EV, period, because it's a joke. It's really taken away from how good these cars are, because the fact of the matter is, you should never, at this point, ever have to replace an EV battery. not for a long time. Few reasons. Well, number one is these batteries are under warranty. So unless you have if you have faulty battery, it's covered under warranty. All manufacturers have a really, really great long warranty, 8-10-year warranties, at multi-hundreds of thousands of miles in some cases. So we're not there yet. It's like, so no one's actually ever had to replace a battery because they've worn it out. That's going to be like, depending on how much you drive, it could be well over 20 years before you wear out a battery to the point where it doesn't work anymore. The second reason why you would actually have to replace a battery is, like in this instance, if you actually were in a collision and it damaged the battery, yes, you're going to have to replace it, but you're going to have insurance. 99.9% of people that own a 1 or 2 year old IONIQ 5 that costs $60,000 is going to have insurance, and that's going to cover it. And yes, unfortunately, at this point, the insurance rates could go up because of that, but this is pretty rare. This does not happen often. If this happened a lot, you would be hearing stories like this every day, and it really doesn't. And the fact of the matter is, batteries are not inexpensive. They are expensive. Perhaps a manufacturer like Hyundai, maybe it's almost an arbitrary number in a way that they don't want to encourage people buying their own battery. Not at this point right now, because it's never happened. So what is the actual cost of the battery at this point? I don't know. It's possible that the battery could cost $60,000 because there's been cases where manufacturers have actually sold cars, especially when EVs were new, that the batteries or the car themselves would lose the money. Every car they sold, they lost money because it cost more to make the car than it was to sell it. Take for instance, hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. If you get in an accident with one of those, do you think, and you damage the fuel cell, you think you can just go to your local Pep Boys or Lordco around here and just say, order up a hydrogen fuel cell? And you think it's going to be cheap? No. I would say a lot of the times that fuel cell is way more money than what that car is worth, because it's super high tech, even more so than the battery. But what happens after 10 years, after your warranty's out? Well, we're gonna have to wait and see, but by then we'll have a way better pathway of the future of how things are going to work. But also the battery technology would have actually been dramatically improved by then. Higher density batteries, smaller packs, maybe solid state, and the prices would actually drop at that point as well. There's no way around it that batteries are expensive, but once again, it is rare that an incident like this with the perfect storm really happened. And you know what? If you're scared to buy an EV because of that, I think that is the wrong reason. If you're thinking that way, you'd probably be thinking the same way as that I'm not going to hop on a plane because it's going to fall out of the sky. That's the type of mentality, and it's just not that way. This story could have definitely had a different ending had the vehicle or the battery being damaged more, of course, or the insurance company reached out to the manufacturer and said, hey, can you do any better than $60,000, which I'm sure the manufacturer would have. Because think about this. Do you think Hyundai wants to go and sell a battery for more than the cost of a car? If that actually ever happened, it'd be a PR nightmare for sure, which it kind of already is. But yeah, it's just not going to happen. So it's really unfortunate all these things took place. Also, the owner, unfortunately, he made the claim under his own collision, and he's going to lose, or his rates are going to go up because he loses his discount. Had he been a more experienced or had a license for longer, he would have been what we call Road Star, which fortunately I am, and it gives you a free accident. So nothing would have happened. There would be a no-brainer. It would have been replaced, and his insurance rates would have stayed the same. And so that didn't happen. Just the fact that it was just kind of like a dent and a scuff, that didn't help the matter. If it was a big violent crash, would have been different as well. So am I scared being an IONIQ 5 owner now? Am I going to put my car for sale because I don't want to replace the battery because it's going to cost me $60,000? I'm going to have just a really expensive paperweight if that happens? Absolutely not. First of all, we have the warranty, we have insurance, and the fact is that this was the perfect storm. This is not a common occurrence. There have been very, very few battery replacements, period. That's why you're hearing about this story to begin with. If there were other battery replacements because of things like this, you would have heard it a long time ago. They've sold thousands and thousands of these cars, and you're just hearing this one story. So, you know, I'm not scared. If you are scared of that and you're scared of EVs because of that, you know, that's almost like saying, I'm not gonna hop onto a plane because it might fall out of the sky. You know what? It's kind of similar in that mentality. So is it possible? Absolutely, of course. Look at the story. It is possible, but it could have went so many different ways. And now with being aware of this story, I don't think you're gonna see stories like this very often at all, because everyone's going to kind of smarten up after this. So we still love our IONIQ 5, one of the best vehicles we've actually had, seriously, hands down, been fabulous. So that's it. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this story. And, you know, does it scare you away from getting an EV, or if you already own one? Yeah, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review. Bye.